From the Fantasy Armchair, it is the Fantasy TyRant. Hey there, fellow fantasy football freaks. It's me, the Ty Guy, the Fantasy TyRant, here to help you win your week once again, coming at you right here from the Fantasy Armchair. And in this episode, I'm going to finish up the benches and bumps that I had started for the Thursday games. Now, I already went over the Ravens and Steelers game, if that ends up happening, so I won't be covering that. But the rest of the games for Sunday and Monday, benches and bumps. But before we do that, just a reminder real quick, Sunday, December 6th, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, 7:30 a.m. Pacific, 2-hour live show. I'm going to be on there answering all your questions. It's my birthday show. So my gift to you on my birthday is to answer all your fantasy football questions that you have for the week, whatever you got, or whatever else. Like if you want to know what you should have for dinner, or if like you should buy a dog or something. I don't know, whatever questions you have for me, I'll be there to help you answer it on my birthday. Having birthday beers, have one with me. Be great. Hope to see you there. Invite all your friends. Let them know about this show. Have them subscribe. Remember, we're trying to reach 200 subscribers by Christmas. Right now, we're at 110, so we got 90 to go. We can get there. We made the goal in the first month, so if we make this one by Christmas, I'll have another big thing for you. But we'll see what that is if we make that goal. So if you haven't subscribed already, and that number down there doesn't say 200, hey, do me a favor, will ya? Thanks. Anyway, let's just move on, though, to what you came here for. That is, benches and bumps, benches and bumps, benches and bumps. And let's start with my QB bump of the week, Derek Carr. Fucking A, I never thought this jamoke would ever end up on this segment. Then again, he hasn't been as shit-esque as he has been most other seasons. And this week, he's got a super juicy matchup, the juiciest matchup of them all. Going down to Hotlanta for a sweet and juicy matchup in the Peach State against the Falcons. The Falcons have given up the most points to quarterbacks this season. They're giving up over 30 points a game. Woo! Boy, that ain't gonna get the job done. And with the way Carr's been playing lately, he's gonna take full advantage this week. So make sure you take that Carr out for a spin and give him the bump to your starting lineup this week. Other QBs I'm bumping up this week. Taysom Hill created quite a stir last week, but he's back to only being used as a QB this week, so everyone can quit their bitching and pissing and moaning. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't start Hill. I mean, he's a pretty good fill-in quarterback, and even though there are no buys this week, Denver's a middle-of-the-road defense when it comes to stopping the QBs, and Hill gets enough of that wildcat running work. He'll probably run in a touchdown or two. So middle-of-the-road matchup or not, I'm giving Taysom Hill the bump this week. Cam Newton's been hit or miss, with no rhyme or reason to when he hits and when he misses. But this week, he's going to want to show the new Cam Newton how the old Cam Newton gets it done. Kyler Murray's been the running quarterback you want this season, and while Cam Newton hasn't put up the greatest weeks at quarterback, he's made up for that with his rushing touchdowns. I mean, he could have 1 or 2 touchdowns in the air and on the ground. The Arizona defense has given up the 8th most fantasy points to QBs this season. I mean, Cam hasn't been reliable, but man, all of that just sounds really good when you say it out loud. So go ahead and give Cam Newton the bump this week. Here's some sleepers at QB this week. Phillip Rivers has found his target, his main man in Pittman. So that means he keeps finding fantasy points for you. And this week, he's got the 9th worst team at stopping QBs, Tennessee. So get him out there. And Jared Goff has a great matchup, but his good and bad games get mixed up sometimes. This is why he's a sleeper and not a starter. But this game does give him a huge upside. So get him out there if you've got the grapefruits. Now last week, I had Matt Ryan in this segment as a bump of the week, but hey, that didn't turn out. And part of the reason why is because Julio was banged up. And guess what? He's hurt once again this week. So this week, I'm putting Matty Ice on the other list. Because even though the matchup against the Raiders is supposed to be pretty good, hey, the last 3 games that Matty Ice played without Julio, alright, 12, 7. Yeah, he was ranked way above QB 20 those weeks. So I guess that makes this great matchup against the Raiders kind of like fool's gold. And I ain't no fool. So for as long as Julio's out, it looks like he's out for this game, why don't you go ahead and put Matty Ice on your bench? Hey, Carson Wentz has got a great matchup against the Seahawks, so we should start him, right? Wrong. God, you guys keep falling for that. Carson Wentz's play is just too volatile this season, and the Seahawks were a trap for Goff, who's also a very volatile quarterback. And this past week against the Cards, we saw the Seahawks defense step up a bit. I mean, they kept Kyler Murray under 30 points this week, which is a victory for them. I mean, actually it was closer to 20, so that's pretty good. Seahawks defensive coordinator and former Niner legend Ken Norton Jr. gave the Seahawks D a little pep talk before their game last week against the Cards, and it seemed to have worked. By pep talk, I assume that means he was putting boots to asses. So while the Sea Chicken's D was a fantasy playground, they've become more like a fantasy sandbox filled with cat turds as of late. And on top of that, Carson Wentz is gourmet garbage. This smells like an Admiral Akbar game, cause it's a trap. So put Wentz on your bench. Ryan Tannehill stays right here where I left him last week despite that call being dog crap. I'm going to go to the well once again in a bad matchup against the Colts. The Colts D has been elite this season, and against opposing QBs, they're only giving up 19 fantasy points a game. That's 4th best in the league. If Tannehill has a good week this week, I'm going to start considering him a matchup-proof stud. I just don't see it. And you probably have better options, so you may as well leave Tannehill on your bench. Now my running back bump of the week goes to Wayne Gallman. Now I know he ain't no household name, but he's quietly become a pretty solid RB2, a high-end RB2 in some weeks for sure. Problem is, this kid ain't getting no respect. Everyone's wanting to start like everyone else over him, even though he's getting runs in the end zone every week. He's been averaging right around 15 fantasy points over the last 4 weeks. Hey, that's pretty good. That's solid RB2 production right there. High-end RB2 production even. And that's been against like top 10 defenses. And this week, he gets a much more favorable matchup against the Bengals. So I don't see that production going anywhere but up. Therefore, out of sheer respect of this underrated running back commodity, I'm giving Wayne Gallman the bump of the week. Other running backs have been bumping up. Miles Sanders should be a stud, but he hasn't been due to injuries, bad game plan, and the fact that his QB is about as efficient as a dwarf changing a light bulb. So I think it's okay to talk about him this week, just to tell you that he's still a stud. At least a solid RB2. He's been quiet, but like a silent time bomb that could explode in any game. This game just may be it. The Seattle D, while playing better lately, is still vulnerable to the run, giving up almost 22 fantasy points per game. Sanders will get his, even if Wentz doesn't. Bump him up. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, I love them both. Why pick one over the other? Both could have top 15 upside this week. Jacksonville won't score enough to render them less useful. People are always worried about these two guys, and I don't get it. So I'm here to endorse the Chubb and Hill dynamic duo for the rest of the season. If you have either or both, give them the bump. Here's my running back sleepers. Frank the Tank, the ageless wonder. He gets a start against the Dolphins, who are giving up the 11th most fantasy points to running backs this season. He may be old enough to have played with Red Grange, but he's still putting up serviceable numbers. As an RB2 or flex against a bad Miami rush D, I'd say he's a start. And on the other side of the ball, whoever's the running back for the Dolphins this week has a tasty matchup against the Jets. So whether it's Ahmed, Gaskin, Breida, Patrick Laird, or hell, maybe they'll bring back Ricky Williams, who knows? Either way, whoever the lead back is, they should get the start on your squad too. As for running backs and benching, I got a bold move for you. How about Derrick Henry? Oh my god, King Henry, who in the world would do that? The same man who dared to tell you to sit Zeke and dared to tell you to sit J-Rob. The Colts are only giving up 15 points a game to a team's entire squad of RBs. I mean, don't be a fucking idiot. Don't start some like running back 3 over him or some fucking thing. The Colts are allowing just over 15 fantasy points a game to full running back teams. But if you've got the depth at running back and you can afford to do it, you might think about putting Derrick Henry on your bench. Other running backs I'm sitting on my pine this week. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been a disappointment this season, but he's still been a serviceable running back, especially lately. This kid is talented, more so than Bell this season. I hate that Bell is ruining his emergence. I feel like he takes valuable touches from the Rook, and this matchup against Tampa Bay is scary. They rank the 3rd best against the run, giving up less than 15 fantasy points per game to the position. For the rest of the season, I love CEH, but for this game, put him on your bench. Hey, if the Baltimore versus Pittsburgh game happens and Ingram and Dobbins both sit out with COVID, you hopping aboard the Gus bus? Yeah, me neither. The Steelers D stops everyone and everything, so hop off the bus and put Gus on your bench. Now let's talk about the wide receivers I'm bumping up. And my biggest bump at wide receiver is going to my man, Michael Pittman. Hey, I've been singing this kid's praises since day one, and I'm happy to see him start to put it together with Phillip Rivers. He's become Phillip Rivers' go-to guy. And if Phillip Rivers trusts this kid, hey, that's good enough for me. Because if you paid any attention to Phillip Rivers' career, he likes that one pass catcher, just that one guy he has that connection with. He loves it, like Antonio Gates or Keenan Allen. It's always about that one guy, and I think Pittman is his one guy. And this week, he's got a solid matchup against the Titans, who are giving up over 21 points a game to wideouts. Add all that up, and we're looking at a big bump for Pittman this week. Other wide receivers I'm bumping, DJ Moore is getting the squeaky wheel treatment. He spoke up about not getting the ball, and Matt Rule has responded well. And Moore wasn't disappointed. Last 2 games, he scored 17 and 18 respectively, and he gets a juicy matchup against the Vikings, ranking 28th against wide receivers, so give DJ the bump this week. And Nelson Aguilar has found his home with the Raiders, and it shows. Carr has finally settled in on his go-to guy this season, and it seems like Nelson's the man. He has double-digit fantasy points in 4 of the past 5 weeks, and this week he faces that delicious peach of a D down in Atlanta, so give him a bump. Sleepers, you say? Curtis Samuel has played well as the gadget player emerges to go-to man in the Panthers offense. That continues this week, so start him up. How about Jalen Reagor? I smell a breakout game for him, while Wentz has a shit game. Hey, it could happen. Wentz looks terrible, but Reagor is poised to score some points for the Eagles and for your fantasy squad, so get him rolling this week. Now the wide receivers I'm looking to bench this week are the Bengals wideouts. Now listen, I love Higgins, I love Boyd. They're great players. They're a dynamic duo when Burrow's at the helm. But hey, we don't know Brandon Allen. We don't know what his tendencies are. So I'm a little hesitant to start them this week. I just have zero confidence in starting Higgins or Boyd in this game or going forward until we know what Brandon Allen can do. Hold on to him, wait and see. But for right now, we're not starting Bengals wideouts until further notice. So for this week, keep Boyd and Higgins on your bench. Other wide receivers I'm benching, Mike Williams has seen a huge surge in his numbers since Herbert took over this season. But this week, he faces a Bills team that ranks 8th against pass catchers. Keenan Allen will get his, and this is a good matchup for Hunter Henry. But Mike Williams will be the odd man out and likely shut out of this game. Leave him on your bench. If you haven't figured it out yet, let this be your notice. The Travis Fulgham era is officially over in Philly, and the Jalen Reagor era has begun. With so many mouths to feed by a quarterback who has trouble keeping his players fed with willy-nilly, balls-out play that only lacks one thing, production. There just isn't enough to go around after Reagor and the tight ends have their feast. Only injury can bring Fulgham back to the fold now. You could probably drop him, but if you do keep him, until further notice, leave Travis Fulgham on your bench. And finally, we get to the tight ends. And my tight end bump of the week is Hunter Henry. Hey, this might be the last week we have Double H on this segment because I'll say it, if he puts up another good game this week, he's getting bumped up to stud status. And there's a good chance he does it, as this week he's faced a Buffalo Bills team who gives up the 6th most fantasy points to tight ends. I'll be honest, I think he's going to do it. I think he's going to go out there, he's going to prove he's a stud tight end, and he's going to have a great day for you on Sunday, so long as you give him a bump to your starting lineup. Other tight ends I'm giving the bump, Evan Ingram has been good as of late, other than that last game when he was a dud. But before that, he had double-digit fantasy points in the previous 3 games. I think he rebounds in his gimme matchup against the Bengals this week, who rank 5th worst at stopping tight ends. He might be the bright spot for the Giants this week. Great matchup for a talented player. He's gaining the trust of the QB. What's not to like here? Give Evan Ingram the bump this week. And Jimmy Graham's matchup doesn't look great on paper, but you gotta wonder if he's got a bone to pick with the Green Bay team that never really utilized him and made him look like less than the superb talent he is, which in the end cost him some money. Jimmy Graham revenge game. You heard it here, folks. Give him the bump. As for the tight end I'm benching most, it's gotta be Jonnu Smith. You guys see a pattern going here. Don't start any Titans against the Colts. The Colts D is just too damn good. They cover all bases. And let's be honest, Jonnu Smith hasn't exactly been lighting it up lately anyway. In fact, this has been pretty much an off season for him. So with this terrible matchup, it shouldn't be hard for you to put 2 and 2 together, but I'll help you. It's called On Your Bench with Jonnu Smith. Honestly, one more bad week, and he's ready to dump.
Other tight ends I'm putting on my pine. Jared Cook sucks, so sit him. Why? Because fuck him, that's why. I'll never start him ever again, no matter the matchup. His good games are completely at random, and his bad games are pretty much all he ever plays in. If he's playing, it's a bad game for the tight end, which is him, because he fucking sucks a big fat walrus cock. Someone call Andy Reid. For now until forever, keep Jared Cook on your bench. Rudolph the Red Zone Reindeer has his old job back after Irv Smith went down, but let's see. Well, it's not quite December yet, and it's well known that Rudolph only works in December, so that makes this easy. Pack him up and don't open till Christmas. That's when Rudolph leads the team. Until then, leave him in the stable, on your bench.
So there it is, folks. Your benches and bumps. Don't worry, I've got some defensive streamers for you too.
The Seahawks D got a big boost from their defensive coordinator, as I mentioned earlier. I think that fire under their ass will stay lit against Carson Wentz and his cavalcade of crap. This game will be a true test of whether or not they can turn things around on D in Seattle. Because if they can't stop Carson Wentz, they don't deserve to play in the fucking league. I think they get the job done though. Start him up. The Giants D has been a sneaky sleeper surprise this season. They lose a lot of games, sure, but the defense always finds a way to score fantasy points, and this week they get to feast on fresh meat, with unproven third stringer Brandon Allen at the helm for the Bengals. They're at bottom 10 in fantasy points allowed to team defenses before Brandon Allen took over, so I don't see that really improving. Pick up and start the Giants D in this dream matchup here, and if those two teams aren't available, kick the tires on my Niners. The defense is still pretty decent even though we're rolling with third stringers and practice squad guys. Solid is just a hell of a defensive coordinator and has these guys, no matter which guys they are, playing top tier D. And this week, they get to fuck around with Jared Goff, or Carson Wentz Light as he should be called. The Niners defense is all they have left, so look for them to put out all their energy into it as they put Wentz on his fucking back all day long. Get him on your squad now.
So there you go, hopefully that caps off your team, but maybe if you're in a deep league, it might not. So here we go, I'm going to give you 5 deep dives for this week.
Tyler Eifert may end up being the security blanket for Glennon, as QBs starting on new teams tend to like checking down to their tight ends. Eifert can get the job done when he isn't injured, which is like 99% of the time, so as long as he isn't knocked over by a sudden gust of wind or he doesn't get a hangnail, Eifert may actually produce in this game. And a great matchup versus the second worst team against tight ends, the Browns, makes him even more of an interesting start. Samaje Perine is a name that's been in and out of fantasy radar for years, and just when everyone forgot about him, he might actually make a big impact on Sunday. Depending on how Gio progresses through concussion protocol, they say he'll probably go, but I wonder if they're going to hold him back a bit and give Perine a chance to take over. And if that's the case, then Perine becomes an interesting start in a pretty good matchup against a Giants team who gives up the 10th most fantasy points to running backs in the season. And Gio was losing touches to Perine before he was concussed. So I'd say that Samaje is worth a look. Everyone is asking if Will Dissly is worth a pickup now that Olsen's out in Seattle. I actually like Jacob Hollister better for the Seahawks. It was around this time last year that he had a great stretch of games and actually helped me win a title in a 16-team league. Yeah, it's a deep dive, but it could really pay off. The Eagles give up the 9th most fantasy points to tight end, so this is a sneaky play. Zig one other zag and get Hollister, not Dissly. Baker Mayfield is so hit and miss, even in good matchups, that I hesitate starting him, but man, this matchup is too sweet. Even I can't pass it up. The Jags are giving up the 3rd most fantasy points to quarterbacks over the season. Baker Mayfield is the quarterbacking as Gary Busey is the dental floss. Yeah, it's gonna be a rough ride. But let's say you start him, and he drops a 30 burger and makes us both look like football Einsteins. Hey, worth a shot if you're streaming QBs. And my super deep danger dive of the week goes to Brian Hill. Todd Gurley's knees are really starting to bug him, and looks like he's going to be out on Sunday. Hill has been coming in to relieve him more and more, and this might be the week where he finally makes a bold statement and attempt to stake his claim at the starting running back position in life after Gurley. He runs well when given the chance, and it looks like he's going to get his chance this season in this next game. If you're in a deep league and riddled with injury at the running back position, you might be surprised what Hill does for you. Even if you don't start him, snag him. Because if Gurley stays down, you can have a solid RB2 at least on your hands.
So that's it, ladies and germs. Hey, remember, if I didn't mention the guys that are on your squad that you have questions about, send me a message. You can PM me or hit me up in the comments below or hit me up on Twitter or my Facebook page. I got the links there in the description. And while you're on Facebook, why don't you come see me on the Fantasy Football Edge Facebook page? There are thousands of people on there answering and asking questions, sharing advice. We got experts in the house. I'm on there all the time answering questions. You can catch my Benches and Bumps video there every Friday. Hey, it's a great place. Check it out. Tell them the TyRant sent you. And don't forget to donate to men's health charities. This beard's only lasting a couple more days, folks. And remember, Sunday, December 6th, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, 7:30 a.m. Pacific, 2-hour live show for my birthday. I'm going to be answering all your questions, and we're going to have a great time. So let's have fun together, all right? Hope to see you then. Bring your friends, bring your family, your dog, whatever. I don't care. Bring everyone. Let's do this. And other than that, good luck this week. And I'll see you again on Monday, all right? I'm out. Peace.